All right, everybody, take two. So I've already recorded this video once, but I noticed at the very end, the mic system had died. Therefore, I had to charge everything, and now we're at it again. So here we are. All right, in today's video, we are going to be discussing the Ruger P95. Now, this is an older gun from the 90s, and it has some unique characteristics on it. I would not say that it is my favorite gun. No way, no how. Hell, borderline even like it. It's bad. All right, but first, let's talk about what's down in the description below. It's going to be the link to the merch store so you can get yourself some awesome merch. It helps the channel out, and then you get to rock it around. Some of the designs are a little spicy, but hey, that's how I roll. Now we also have Patreon locals. You can become a member right here on YouTube. If that doesn't float your boat, you don't want to spend any money, I get it. Times are tough. All you need to do is subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it, throw a comment in, help with that algorithm. That's it. And it's free. All right, let's get into the meat of the issue. Got a bunch of notes here that I'm going to go over just so I can give you guys a decent backstory on the whole gun and all that good stuff. All right. So the Ruger P series is a center-fire semi-automatic handgun that was made by Ruger somewhere around 1985 to about 2013. Now the P95, the particular model I have, is from 96 on. All right. It's not one of the original P series. However, it's somewhere in the middle. All right. Now, the P series was really designed for the military, police, civilians, for recreational use. Now, not a single military in the United States uses this. However, it is used overseas by like the Turkish military and a few other countries. I don't know of any police departments in the United States that use them, but hey, that's basically what Ruger had in the archives of their information. This handgun was largely based on the Browning action from the 1911 with minor variations. It's generally related to the safety mechanism and the barrel cam block interface, right? I know I'm getting deep into the weeds on that one. Okay, so the P series is a short recoil operated lock breech semi-automatic pistol that uses the SIG P220 locking system and the 1911 style tilting barrel. It is a DA SA. When I mean double action, S, and single action, listen, that single action is pretty rough. It's 10 pounds, but it's not very smooth. And when it gets into the single action mode, it's actually not that bad. I've definitely felt better. There you go. All right. The standard models are ambidextrous. What I liked when I was looking up the information on this, they said the effective range of this gun is 55 yards. That's it. 55 yards. Now, this one is chambered in 9mm Luger. And the intro video you saw where we were shooting it, we were actually nailing targets at 61 yards. Couldn't get any closer, and we were shooting steel, so we wanted to keep back. But we had no problems hitting targets at 61 yards. We were just aiming right around the head area, and we were slamming the rounds right into the chest. The P95, introduced in 1996, incorporated a ton of changes from the original P series. First and foremost, one of the things is it does have an accessory rail on the bottom where you can connect your flashlight. Some of the original models did not have that. This one, thank God, does, because I'm a big supporter of putting flashlights on guns when it gets dark, because you can't shoot things in the dark. It does have a 3.9-inch barrel. Now, the biggest changes were it went from a proprietary metal on top to just basically straight up milled aluminum. And the lower to try and lighten the gun up is a type of polymer. It's not just any normal polymer, though. It is a Dow Chemicals isoplast. It's a reinforced polyurethane fiberglass mixture. We'll get into how it feels, but it does not feel good. The gun, when it is completely empty, is very top heavy as compared to other things like SIGs and Glocks. This Ruger is just, it's a big, chunky gun that's thick with like 3 Cs at least. All right. So outside of the isoplast polymer frame, it is also the first pistol in the series to omit the dropping link underneath the barrel. The first P95 came with a glossy black polymer frame and a hooked trigger guard and lacked any accessory rail. Ours, however, does have one. So when it comes to production, the P95 was actually the last in the line of the P series to be made. As in, all the other P series that they were making had been discontinued, but they continued to make the P95. They made this all the way up to about 04, and then there was another P95 variant that was made from 09 to 2013. This one is a late 1996 model, and I have all the original paperwork for it because I did not purchase this. If I saw this in the gun case, I'm telling you right now, hands down, I would have skipped over it. But it was inherited. I've shot it. I've cleaned it. I've shot it some more. It's not the worst gun I've ever shot. But that being said, I would not have gone out of my way to purchase it. So it being inherited, fine with me. Okay, so let's talk about some of the pros and the cons. Because in my head, guns all have pros and they all have cons. So let's talk about the pros before I just crap all over this bad boy. First of all, it is a completely solid build. The handgun itself does not rattle when you shake it. It feels like it's put together with some quality craftsmanship. That being said, it's a big gun. It is not for someone with tiny hands. My hands are not that big. I have trouble reaching certain controls on the gun. It is thick. I prefer some moderate sized guns to some smaller guns. It is a big, heavy, chunky gun. Okay. It is very reliable. That is always a good thing. The price point was actually relatively good. It was on the lower end. It wasn't, I mean, it's trying to be nice without saying bad words. It's not as expensive as, say, a higher end Glock, but it's definitely not cheap like you would find, a high point at. It was really actually in between. Average was about $300 to $350 or so, back in the day. The trigger is decent. The 10 pounds is pretty rough, but it's a good safety feature to have. And of course, when it's in single action mode, you're down to a 4-pound trigger. Now, these aren't just arbitrary numbers. I used my good old trusty Lyman trigger gauge to get an aggregate of single action and double action, and it basically came out to 10 pounds and 4 pounds. They came in 3 different types of calibers. They came in 9mm Parabellum, 40, and of course 45, God's caliber. I don't know many people that use 40. I just recommend buying 9mm Parabellum or 9mm Luger because it's a NATO round and it's a plentiful type of ammo that's out there. 45, it didn't hold as many. Originally, this held 15 plus 1. Unfortunately, we're in Connecticut, so even though this is an older firearm, the magazines have been updated to ensure that they are Connecticut compliant. Now, let's talk about some of the bad stuff. Okay, the bulkiness. It is a big gun. It is kind of ugly. I'm sorry. I don't like it. The sights aren't that good. I mean, they are 3 white dots, which are great. However, that rear sight, it's not it's not doing it for me. I don't like the fact that there's no serrations on the front up here on the slide. I like to grab up front. So now I'm definitely grabbing it in the back on this one because this does get a little slippery when your hands are wet if you're not wearing gloves. It is definitely an outdated design. When this came to market, its design was already outdated. All right. I mean, it fires great. It works. It's robust. Would I take it out for everyday carry? Definitely not. Is it a go-to? No. It sits in the safe, but I like to take it to the range. I like to enjoy it, and it gives me something other than SIG or Glock or Canic or one of the other guns that I do carry to actually shoot. Not a big fan of how Rugers break down overall, just because you got to turn it, twist it, bop it, lick it, sniff it, and God forbid you lose the pin. Just because the way the pin pull on this, when you break it down, this takedown lever, whole thing comes right out. If you lose that little roll pin, you can have problems. I know my daughter's little Ruger LC9, same thing. It's a tiny little pin. You open up the trap door, you push it out for the whole system to break down. You lose that pin, you drop it, you can't find it because it goes under your workbench or what have you. You're down and out. I much prefer how SIGs and Glocks break down because all the parts just kind of stay together and there's no tiny little pieces. For the most part, when you're doing just a regular field strip to clean it, you're not losing tiny little parts all over the place. So that's me. But my biggest gripe is going to be the grip. And we're not talking about the grip angle or anything like that. We're going to talk about the polymer plastic. It's smooth. There is no texture for you to kind of grip onto it. So again, if your hands are wet with rainwater or sweat or anything like that, you can easily start sliding on that grip. There is no texturing. I would recommend just adding some tape to it, some camphor tape, some board tape, anything to just increase the friction between your hand and this grip. Because as is, straight from the factory, the grip is absolutely atrocious. There is just nothing there to help you keep your hands on the gun. And then, speaking of the grip, let's get into the mag release. So, for you and for me, we're used to the standard, just push it in. That's not how this one works. There's a little lever here you got to push forward, and there's one on the other side. So, I can't just push it forward with, go in there. I can't push it forward this way. I have to bring index finger down and use both fingers so I can pop this out. So it does have a manual safety on it. You can see it right here. Up is off, down is on. It is ambidextrous. So even if I'm using this left-handed, I can get it on and off. The biggest difference is obviously for a right-handed shooter, you're going to have a ledge on the manual safety to help you push it up and down, versus if you're a southpaw, it's smooth. It's tighter to the gun. So if you're shooting this left-handed, it's going to be a bit of a problem. Now, the other nice thing is the manual safety does act as a decocker. So when your safety is off and you put that gun into single action mode, as you put that manual safety on, it's going to send the hammer home. Now, that was pretty harsh. It was pretty violent, and I would definitely be doing that in a safe direction because that hammer comes flying forward at full speed. When it's locked to the rear and you're looking inside, you can actually see the piece that gets hit. It's not the firing pin itself, but when you throw that manual safety on, it gets moved forward. Looking up close and personal, you can see that right here there's a little metal piece that you can see the inner workings. So when you start to pull the trigger, You can see it's right in there. When you put the safety on, you can see that it pushes that piece of metal down. I don't like that design because right here, you can see it. You can see it moving, which means if you're using it on the flat range for a training session or whatever, and you get some dirt, grime, some nastiness up in there, it could foul it out and it could cause this to malfunction. I'm not saying that it would. I'm saying that there's a potential for it to malfunction. I think having all these components internal to the gun to where grime can't get to them when training is more important than anything else. When we're talking about the controls and the size of your hand, in order for me to hit the slide release, I can't reach it. So if the slide is locked to the rear, I can't get to it. I have to rotate my hand. I have to rotate my hand more like this to get my thumb on it so I can push it down. It's also on the right side of the gun, pretty flush. But on the left side of the gun, you can see there's this part that bulges out. It's not that bad for being a right-handed shooter. This is actually a pretty nice ledge for your support thumb to kind of get on there, and I can help really dig it in there to keep that muzzle flip down. That being said, it does look wonky. Just letting you know. Okay? It comes down to aesthetics for me. I don't like how it looks. Just being honest with you. I prefer, my guns to look symmetrical. I don't know. It's just a me thing, I guess. When it comes to reaching other controls, like the hammer, if you wanted to reach back and you want to pull that hammer into single action mode, well, good luck. Because you can see, you can't get on top of it and then trying to pull it. It's really, really awkward. So I would not suggest when you're there trying to start off and put the gun immediately into single action by pulling the hammer back manually with your thumb. At that point, I would recommend you just rack the gun when you load it. Obviously, you're going to get that. If you start off with the safety on and you rack it, the hammer will not go to the rear. So you put your magazine in and rack it at the range, you're going to stay in single action or in double action mode. So if you're going to do that, you're going to throw the safety off, put your magazine in, and then when you rack it, you're going to be in single action mode. Make sense? I know it makes sense to you. All right. Now that we're talking about triggers and hammers and all that, let's go through and test that trigger. So the gun is completely empty. God, that was loud. All right, so double action. There is no uptake because it's double action. So it's a nice, long, heavy trigger pull. So you're pulling. It takes forever. Still going. Now it breaks. Once you're like all the way to the rear, it finally breaks. If the gun cycles, like it should, then you're going to be in single action mode. So we're going to ease up. It's not that far. And then the brake. It's an okay trigger. When you are coming back from the rear and you're trying to hit that reset wall, if you're used to firearms such as the Glock, the SIG, and a lot of other ones out there, you can feel that trigger pushing forward. Once this goes and you're pinned to the rear, as you ease up, there's really nothing there on the trigger. The trigger is not assisting move forward to that wall. It is just there. So you're definitely going to be using your finger to try and find that wall versus letting the gun take you to the wall, if you understand what I'm saying. And I'm not trying to just crap all over this gun. Again, though, if you're in the market for a gun, you're looking for Ruger, you like Ruger, hey, good for you. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean a damn thing. I think it's a good gun to have just for some fun at the range. I would not carry it. It is big, it's heavy, it's chunky. But it was free. You know. I don't think it's one of their better designs. It's just not. It is what it is. My final thoughts on it are simple. I'm going to keep it because I don't believe in selling guns. I like just having them all. I will continue to shoot it. I will continue practicing at the range. But I am definitely not going to carry this for an everyday carry. It is not part of the home defense package. It is something that just kind of lives in the safe. And when I'm doing private lessons or just going out to practice myself, hanging out with the fam and shooting, it's something that'll come out of the safe. We'll have fun with it, but it will go back until we shoot it again at some later date. But it's not going to live outside the safe as part of my normal everyday life. It is just that sad. I mean, it's a pretty rough gun. I don't know. Never been much of a fan of Rugers, but this one definitely would turn you off. It's just me. You know? It's just so big. I mean, literally, it looks like something out of a sci-fi movie. It looks like a gun you'd see in, like, Blade Runner. Speaking of that, I literally plugged the gun into the IMDb Firearms database to try and figure out if this gun has been used in any movies, TV shows, or anything like that. It has. It popped up in a whole bunch of movies that I've heard, but not by actors that I knew. It was in things like, okay, so I did notice, according to the database, Halle Berry used it in the movie Gothica. It was used in Transporter 2 by someone. It was used in the movie The Marine. It was in Patriots Day. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Okay, I'd have to go back and watch that and look for that gun. When it comes to TV shows, it was used in 24, Season 7. A couple of times throughout Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, which are great series. I love both of them. And then it was used in NCIS Season 17 for about 3 seconds. And then, of course, it was in animes, You're Under Arrest, Full Throttle, and an anime called Banana Fish. Sorry, not an anime guy. You might be. My son is. He might know what these are. I'm not. I was just like, cool, anime. Not my thing. But, all right, that's enough of that tangent. That's pretty much all I have for you guys in this video. Sorry it took so long. Sorry I missed a video last week. But when everything died, I got busy doing other things. And now I'm bringing it to you a week later. All right? So, I've got to go get ready for my private lesson I have later today because, hey, we do private lessons now. So, if you need help with a little encouragement, you want to try out different guns, maybe you're one of those shooters that shoots low left. Well, I can help fix all of that. I can help you with your grip. I can help you with your trigger pull. And I can help you actually figure out what kind of gun you might want to buy for an everyday carry. So if you're a new shooter or even a seasoned shooter and you want to just get a little one-on-one time with me as a more than qualified instructor, then down in the description below, you'll find my email address. Reach out to me. We will schedule a day and a time that works best for you. It's usually going to be during the week because I'm teaching on weekends. But we're just going to go to Wolf's in Bristol for about an hour because that's the package. You get either 1 hour or 100 rounds, whichever goes first. Everybody needs a little improvement when it comes to shooting. Hell, even I do. All right? And it's not just like my opinion. We're going to implement some modern tools. I know the last lesson we did, I told the gentleman that was with me, I was like, hey, here's your problem. This is what you're doing wrong. He's like, okay. And to prove it to him, well, I hooked up my Mantis 3 to the gun, brought out my smartphone, got the app up and running. He shot his rounds, and sure as shit, the app told him the same thing I told him. This is your problem, and this is how we're going to fix it. And by the end of our shooting session, by the end of our lesson, he had more confidence. He was no longer shooting low left. He was doing much, much better. And it only took a little bit of time. And actually, just some words of wisdom. Things I've learned along the way. I'm not perfect, but I'm better than most. All right, that's all I got for you guys in this video. I will talk to you all later.